can I have another few seconds? I wanted to share another thing just to consider. It won't take as long, I promise. That was the longest thing I'm going to say tonight. I promise I will not speak long after this. But I just want to share one more thing, because some people really believe that it's Antiochus. I want to give another reason why it's not Antiochus. So, when you read Daniel chapter 8, right? And of course, Antiochus came out of Greece, particularly the Seleucid Empire, because I think Mark Anthony brought up this point. Dr. Jason Thomas, you're obviously ignoring the intertestament history, namely the controversy between the Seleucid, Ptolemy kingdoms over Jerusalem, right? Stick around. And by the way, Mark, you're already one of my favorite people, so I love this guy. Anyway, and in the latter, but look at what it says. Daniel 8:23. And in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding, dark sentences, shall stand up. Right? If you believe that it's really Greece, it tells you in the latter part of their kingdom. Guys, when you think latter part of their kingdom, what comes to mind? Beginning, middle, or end?
And the end.
The end, right? If you think latter part of their kingdom, when transgressors are come to the full, a fierce king of countenance shall, stand up. But check this out. When you look at the Seleucid kings, right? And this is a video, it's a website, livius.org. And if you just scroll down, the first king that they have here was Seleucus, of course, right? June 311, right? He was the first king. But look at what king was Antiochus. So let's scroll down. Antiochus was king number 8, around 164. But look how many kings are after him.
That doesn't really connect to the verse.
Does that make sense? To say he will come at the latter part of the kingdom when he's number 8. He's number 8 out of 29. Pretty much 30. Like, I have a friend, Rondell. He said in Bible study one day, he says, let's say you're married and you tell your wife, hey, honey, we're going to have 29 kids. But you know what? When we get to kid number 8, we're at the latter end of the kids we're going to have. How is she going to look at you? Wait, hold on. We're having 29 kids and you're at number 8, and you're saying we're at the latter end of our kid making? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So the Bible is saying that this king will arise at the latter end. But Antiochus was number 8 out of 29. If anything, he was in the middle, beginning middle, not at the latter end. So I just wanted to share that. I told you I'd be quick.
Daniel 8. What about this little horn? Daniel says, I raised my eyes and saw and behold a ram standing on the bank of the canal. It had 2 horns. Both the horns were high, but one was higher than the other. And the higher one came up last. And then no beast could stand before him. And there was no one who could rescue from his power. He did as he pleased. But as he was looking at this, says, behold, a male goat came from the west across the face of the earth without touching the ground, swift. And the goat had a conspicuous horn between his eyes. He came to the ram with the 2 horns, right, the single horn goat, which I had seen standing on the bank of the canal, and he ran towards him with his powerful wrath. And he saw him come close to the ram. He was enraged against him and struck the ram and broke his horns, right, his kingdom. And the ram had no power to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled him. This goat with the single horn trampled the ram with the 2 horns. And there was no one who could rescue the ram from the power. The goat was strong, became exceedingly great. But when he was strong, the great horn broken. That tells us something about the kingdom of this goat. And instead, out of that one horn came up 4 horns towards the 4 winds of heaven. And out of one of the 4 came a little horn. So out of the little horn comes out of the 4, which was out of the single one. And that little one grew exceedingly great towards the south, the east, and toward the glorious land.
Yeah, let me pause right there. I think this is what trips people up a lot. This is it right here. This is it. So I'm going to speak about that. So The Bible, let me just read the Bible, like what it says. What verse is that? Daniel chapter 8. This is the verse, right? And it says, therefore the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. But when you read verse 9, it says, and out of one of them came forth a little horn. Now that's what the Bible says. But his exact words were, and out of one of the four came a little horn. So out of the little horn comes out of the four. He's basically saying the little horn comes out of the four horns. But the verse doesn't say out of one of the four horns came forth the little horn. It just says out of one of them. Now you might say, oh, but one of them is talking about the four horns. Let me just share something real quick. Let me just share this. Hopefully this will be very, very clear. So let's talk about that little horn. So Daniel 8, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. That word them is the issue. Out of one of them. Now, when we look at the context, verse 8, therefore the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. So we know the great horn was broken, and for it, meaning for that horn, four notable ones. So the ones is talking about the horns. Is the word them talking about the horns, or is it toward the four winds of heaven? So is the verse saying out of the four horns came the horn? Or out of the four winds of heaven came the horn? That's something that people don't consider in breaking this down. I went to blueletterbible.org. Check this out, y'all. This is pretty dope. And Edwin, do you speak Spanish? You speak Spanish? Hable español? Sí?
English, Spanish. I understand a little bit of Portuguese, and I took French in college.
Right. So you know about pronouns, right? You know about if there was a group of little children who were boys, you would say los hijos, right?
Yes.
Or how do you say it? And if there were a group of girls, you would say las hijas,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Because if you're talking about something feminine, you have to say las. But if you were talking about boys and girls, you would say los hijos again, right? Is that right? Okay. All right.
Correct.
Just keep
You're
that in
pretty
mind.
good at Spanish, man.
My mom's from Honduras, man. Look, I paid attention. So anyway, when you go to blueletterbible.org and you go to, type Daniel chapter 8 and you click on this button right here, out of one of them came forth a little horn, right? Check this out. When you click on all the words and you look at that word them, check this out. This is really, really dope. I think this is really amazing. You see that word them, transliteration, ham. Look at what it says. It says third person plural masculine personal pronoun. The word them is a masculine pronoun, like saying los hijos, the boys. It's a masculine pronoun. The word los is a masculine pronoun. Ham in Hebrew is a masculine pronoun, meaning it's referring either to something masculine or at most something both masculine or feminine if you're talking about a group of things. But just keep that in mind. The word them, out of one of them, is referring to something that is a masculine noun. Question: is the word horn masculine or feminine? So when you go to verse 8 and you do the same thing, but you fast forward down to the word horn, let's see what it says about the word horn. Is horn masculine or feminine? The word is Karen, and it says feminine noun. So the word them is a pronoun referring to something masculine, but the word horn is not masculine. It's feminine. So if it was referring to horn, it would have used a feminine pronoun. But let's keep going further. When you go further down to the word winds, is winds masculine or feminine? Let's check that out.
Masculine.
So when you see it, it says here feminine noun. But let's do a little bit more research. It says noun, feminine, as in Genesis 1:48. But look at the next sentence. Check this out, y'all. Less often masculine. And then it gives a verse. Exodus 10 verse 13. What does Exodus 10 verse 13 say? What does Exodus 10 verse 13 say? Check this out, y'all. Check this out. Check this out. This is dope. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought forth what?
An east wind.
An east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. When the Bible is using this word to refer to wind, that's the time when it's used as a masculine noun. The one time when it's used to refer to wind. So when you go back to the verse, it says, therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones towards the 4 winds of heaven. So when we see this, the word them is a masculine pronoun that has to be referring to a masculine noun. And the only word that was masculine in the previous verse was winds, not horns. So therefore, what is the verse saying? The he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And out of one of the 4 winds of heaven came forth a little horn. The little horn is not coming up out of the 4 horns. He's coming out of the 4 winds. Did Rome come out of the 4 winds of heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was much further west. So this is what the verse is saying. It's not saying that the little horn came out of the other horns. I mean, you may say like, okay, yeah, Rome did attack the 4 horns. So if you want to look at it from that way, but what the verse is actually saying is that there was this power came from the 4 winds of heaven, particularly from the west. It's not saying that it came out of one of the little horns, not in the Greek. So it's an incorrect reading to say he came out of one of the little horns when the verse is not saying that. Yeah, in the Hebrew,
Rome was in
it's
the
not
west.
saying that.
Was
Huh?
Rome west of Israel? at this
Rome
time?
was much west of the Seleucid Empire. When you look at the map, Seleucid did not necessarily rule that particular region. Italy was a further west of that. But yes, it is true. The little horn came up from the 4 winds of heaven. So hopefully we can put that down
He's Greek,
to
though.
rest.
The Seleucid was more, you said Seleucid was more east.
West. So, oh wait, no, yeah, east. East of Italy. Anyway, we could look at a map. All right. Any questions or thoughts on that?